You traded something today. Maybe it was your time. Maybe it was your attention. Maybe it was $40 you did not really have for something you did not really need. But you made the trade. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a small voice told you it was the wrong move. You ignored it. You always do. That voice is older than money itself. And the reason you keep ignoring it is not weakness. It is not laziness. It is something that was built into your brain hundreds of thousands of years before the first coin was ever struck. Ancient humans knew something about wealth that modern financial culture has spent decades trying to erase from your memory. Not because they were smarter. Not because they lived simpler lives. But because they were playing a completely different game with resources. A game your brain still thinks you are playing right now. And it is costing you everything. Here is where it starts. For almost all of human existence, hoarding resources was a death sentence. Not a metaphor. A literal, social death sentence. If you stockpiled food in a hunter-gatherer band while your neighbors starved, you were exiled. Or worse. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer societies, like those documented by anthropologist Christopher Bowman in his work on egalitarian social structures, found that bands enforced what he called reverse dominance hierarchies. The moment one person began accumulating disproportionate resources, the group punished them. Shared everything. Leveled the playing field. Not out of ideology. Out of pure survival logic. For 300,000 years, this was the rule. Share or die. Your brain learned that lesson so deeply it became architecture. The part of your brain that monitors social belonging, the same part that fires when you feel shame or exclusion, is the same system that activates when you think about accumulating wealth beyond your social group. Psychologists call this phenomenon the wealth guilt trap. When you start saving money, something inside you gets uncomfortable. You spend it. You give it away. You downplay how much you have. You self-sabotage at the exact moment you are about to break free. You think it is a personality flaw. It is not. It is a 300,000-year-old survival reflex firing in a world it was never designed for. Ancient humans were brilliant about resources. They just measured wealth completely differently. In the Paleolithic world, wealth was not stored. Wealth was relational. The richest person in any group was not the one with the most food. It was the one who had given away the most food. Because every gift was a debt. Every shared meal was an investment. The return on that investment was loyalty, protection, labor, and alliance. And those returns paid off in the only currency that actually mattered then. Survival. Anthropologist Marcel Mauss described this system in his foundational work The Gift, published in 1925. Mauss studied gift economies across dozens of cultures and found the same pattern everywhere. The act of giving was never purely generous. It was a sophisticated financial transaction. Giving created obligation. An obligation created a web of interdependence that functioned as the world's first insurance system. Your ancestors were running a social ledger that made modern derivatives look simple. Now here is where it gets dark. Modern financial culture took this ancient instinct and turned it into a weapon against you. When you spend money on someone else's birthday, when you buy rounds of drinks, when you upgrade your car because your neighbor just upgraded theirs, you are not being reckless. You are running 400,000-year-old wealth software in a world that has completely changed the rules. You are investing in social capital the way your ancestors did. Except now, the returns do not come back. The web of obligation that would have paid dividends in the ancient world has been severed. Modern society does not keep the ledger. The system profits from this disconnect. Credit card companies understand your social spending instinct better than you do. Luxury brands build their entire pricing model around it. The more a product signals social generosity or tribal status, the more your ancient brain overrides your modern logic. Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize-winning behavioral economist, called this System 1 versus System 2 thinking. System 1, the ancient, fast, emotional brain, makes most financial decisions before System 2, your slow rational mind, even registers what happened. And System 1 still thinks you live in a village of 50 people where every dollar spent on social signaling is a survival investment. Ancient humans also had something else that modern wealth culture stripped away. They had a visceral, physical relationship with resources. Every calorie they ate required visible, felt effort. Hunt, gather, process, cook, store. The energy cost of acquiring resources was never abstract. It lived in their muscles and their exhaustion. You swipe a card. You tap a phone. The resource leaves without friction. Without sensation. Without any signal to your ancient brain that something real just moved. Behavioral economists call this payment decoupling. The further removed the payment mechanism is from the physical reality of the resource, the more your brain undervalues what it is spending. Dražen Prelec and Duncan Simister ran experiments at MIT showing that people consistently paid more for the same item when using credit versus cash. Sometimes more than twice as much. The pain of paying, what Prelec called the immediate emotional cost of spending, was numbed the moment the money became invisible. Ancient humans could not decouple. Every trade was physical. Immediate. Felt. Your financial system was designed to eliminate exactly that feedback loop. Here is the twist that almost nobody talks about. Ancient humans were not broke. Not in the way you are. They operated within a system where the math worked. Resources came in. Resources went out. The social ledger balanced. There was scarcity, yes. But the scarcity was honest. It was visible. It was shared. Modern financial scarcity is manufactured. It is engineered by systems that profit from the gap between your ancient instincts and your modern environment. The debt cycle exists because your brain is optimized to spend on connection, status, and immediate survival. The savings deficit exists because your brain has no instinct for storing invisible numbers in a digital account it cannot see or feel. The wealth gap widens because the people at the top have learned to code their financial systems around human psychology while the rest of the population runs on prehistoric firmware that was never updated. You are not bad with money. You are running software that was never designed for this environment. And knowing that changes everything. The ancient wealth instinct does not disappear. But it can be redirected. The hunter-gatherer who gave food to build alliances was, at the core, thinking long-term. Delay now. Build the network. Receive later. The problem is not the instinct. The problem is the environment hijacked the instinct and pointed it at things that do not pay back. Every time you invest in an asset instead of a status symbol, you are reclaiming that instinct. Every time you feel the friction of a real financial decision, you are rebuilding the ancient feedback loop that kept your ancestors honest about resources. Every time you choose a long-term return over an immediate social signal, you are playing the original wealth game. The one your brain already knows how to win. Because here is what ancient humans actually knew about wealth. Real wealth was never about accumulation. It was about becoming the person who had enough to give. The one whose resources multiplied because others were invested in your survival. The one whose name was in every ledger. Every alliance. Every obligation. They were not building bank accounts. They were building networks so resilient that no single loss could destroy them. And you are still trying to figure out why you cannot stop spending. This morning, you traded something. Maybe it was your time. Maybe it was your attention. Maybe it was $40 you did not really have. And somewhere in the back of your mind, that same small voice spoke up again. Now you know whose voice that is. And how long it has been waiting for you to finally listen.